Adherence.
Please take your hood off. You're better than a hood.
I know, but I'm so cold.
Redefine. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Encounter Podcast, man. We are
Welcome
back. I guess what's been going on? Chiefs 11-1 now. Thank God the refs are still in the game. They're so good. They're probably the best players that we have. I'm so thankful for the refs. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Without them, I don't know where we'd be. But, yeah, Chiefs 11-1. Last week was Thanksgiving. 2 more weeks and we're on Christmas break, man. You guys will get a fun episode over Christmas break. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Actually, we should do multiple.
Oh, yeah, we can shoot a couple there.
No. We should get on one.
Oh, yeah, we can.
We have
Don't expose. Bleep the name out. Bleep the name out for sure. We will have 2 special guests. One is gonna be. That's bleeped out. And the second one is gonna be, and potentially.
Oh, that'd be
So that's
good.
3. But you guys didn't hear any of that. So.
Man.
But yeah, so we got
Are we
some
just
fun
gonna
stuff
film
coming.
a ton?
Yeah, we'll shoot some, bro. I mean, we're gonna be there.
We
We're gonna
gotta
be gone
get
for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's gonna be so good. It's business trip, really. Honestly,
I mean,
tax write-offs
realistically.
are gonna be crazy
Yeah.
on that one.
Thankfully, we don't pay for anything anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
But all that to say, today's episode is going to be on legalism. We shot an episode on cultural Christianity a couple months ago, and that's kind of the other end of the spectrum, kind of the like abusing the grace of the Lord, I guess, where you kind of just live the life however you want to live, but you say, I'm saved or whatever. And so it's really not like taking your relationship seriously. And so that's kind of the other end of the spectrum. And this end is going to be more like the strict, like focusing on the law over relationship, I guess.
Okay, so we're gonna define legalism before we go into it, just so that we're all on the same page of what we're talking about. But legalism basically is just like relying on the law, relying on your adherence to the law in order to be what saves you. And people a lot of the times don't even like realize or like admit that they're relying on their works to save them, but it can be shown in like what you emphasize and what you care about most. And so this whole thing really takes Jesus and like a relationship with Jesus out of the picture, because you're so concerned about what you're doing that your relationship with Jesus goes on the back burner while you being a good person is the main focus.
Yeah.
So
Like with cultural Christianity, your relationship with Jesus goes on the back burner, but that's because you think that you kind of have a get out of jail free card in your back pocket. Whereas this one, and you kind of just go live the life whatever you want. Whereas this one is you focus more on what you do to earn your salvation.
Yeah.
In quotes, versus the other one doesn't even care.
And I think that this is where a lot of people get burnt out of church or get turned away from church, because they see all these rules and they see like, I'm never going to be able to do this. Like, I'm never going to measure up to these things. And people emphasize it so heavily. Well, like, you have to. Like, this is what being a Christian is about,
Yeah, dude.
And then people are like, well, I stand no chance, so I might as well not even try.
Yeah.
And so they don't go to church. Or like, even if legalistic people are doing godly things, it takes all the life out of godly living, because it takes the relationship with God out of the godly living, and so it's no fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, you're not living better to draw near to the Lord.
Yeah.
You're living better so that you look better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then like, there's no purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're just living out all these rules. You're taking everything so seriously, and like not even seriously. Like you're putting an overemphasis on what's being asked. You're not looking at the heart of the law. You're looking at the letter of the law.
Yeah.
And so you're not saying that the principle behind it is what is important, but you're saying the strict application of that. is what's important.
Yeah, because the joy of the Christian life isn't perfection. The joy of the Christian life is being with Jesus.
Yeah.
And so I am so imperfect, but I can still have so much joy because I get to be with Jesus. Whereas somebody can follow the law better than me, right? And be miserable because they don't have Jesus, and they're so focused on what they're doing. And it's like, that's not how it was made.
No.
Jesus fulfilled the law. And I'm not saying that's a get out of jail free card, like you get to just go live your life, because Paul says, did Christ die so that your sin could abound? By no means. He said, go and sin no more. Jesus multiple times said, go and sin no more, right? But he isn't calling you to a life of perfection. He's calling you to a life with him.
Yeah, a life of pursuit.
Yeah.
A life of pursuing him, dude.
That's gas. He isn't calling you to, I could see it now.
Clip that.
Just the little like Craig Groeschel.
Say it so you can clip it.
He isn't, no, you say it. I mean, you're the one who came up with it.
No, you said it.
He isn't calling you to a life of perfection. He's calling you to a life of pursuit.
Clipped.
That has to be,
That's clipped.
that's good. That's good.
No, but for real, I don't know. I was kind of just, this has kind of just been something that I've like been thinking about recently, but obviously there's rules and there's like regulations, or like there's laws that the Lord lays out so we can follow it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess this is just what you've been saying, like the joy of our relationship, or like, I don't know, I think in relationship with the Lord and in relationship with other people, like relationships are meant to be fun. Like the Lord designed like our relationship and our desire for him and our desire to have like friendships, like to be fun, right? And so if you're looking at the specific like law, like let's look at it in your relationship with the Lord. If you're looking at, let's just take the 10 Commandments, and you only focus on doing the 10 Commandments, and that's what you think is going to be fun in life. It's like, dude, that's no fun. Like, because you're only looking at doing these laws, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you could do all 10 laws, but you're only focused on doing that, right? And so at the end of the day, you're going to have a benefit from it, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have, you haven't stolen anything. You don't worship other gods. Like, like you are
Like,
free from sexual immorality.
You're not going to be hurt as much by sin.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like there's obviously benefit to following the law, but like there's going to be no fulfillment in the relationship aspect of your relationship with the Lord. I think you have to set up these boundaries where it's like, I don't want to fall into that sin. So I'm going to set these boundaries very wisely. But I'm not going to focus on only obeying the boundaries. I'm going to focus on pursuing the Lord first and allowing those boundaries to guide me along with my pursuit of the Lord. So I think that both sides of that can be dangerous, because you're only looking at one aspect of it. But I think that you have to allow the law that the Lord has set and allow the boundaries that he has set and the regulations to be a guardrail while you pursue him.
Yeah, because ultimately, like the law and the things the Lord tells us to do are for our own good, so that we don't be hurt by sin. Yeah. I was just reading Romans 1, and it says, like, as a punishment of choosing sin, God gave them up to their sin, right? So the punishment of sin is sin itself. So obviously, the Lord doesn't want you to be living in that. But you weren't made with the primary purpose of living according to the law. Like, yes, that comes with something, but your primary purpose is living in relationship with the Lord. Yeah. And then that thing's naturally going to flow. Yeah. And so it's an overflow of your relationship. Yeah. It's not a means to
the relationship.
A relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Practicing the presence of God or of the Lord or whatever. It's a book that one of our buddies is reading, but he read us a quote out of the book last night, and it said, basically the means of the quote was, the time that this guy sinned was the times whenever he took his eyes off the Lord. Yeah. The way that he flourished in his relationship with the Lord and the way that he abstained from sin was not through focusing on not sinning, but it was through focusing on the Lord. And the times that his eyes slipped away from the Lord, or slipped away from the goal of eternal glory, or the goal of, advancing the kingdom, that's whenever he fell.
Yeah, because the second you stop beholding the beauty of Jesus is the second you're going to fall. Yeah. Right. I think that in the Christian life, it's so easy to want to put more pressure on yourself
100%.
and put more weight on like, oh, well, like I control more than I think, when it's really like it's a gift, right?
Yeah.
Salvation's a gift. And so I
Yeah.
can't do anything to earn it. And so in the same way, like living a good life, I just have to simply look at Jesus and pursue Jesus. And then everything else is going to follow. And I think it's so easy to slip into this mindset of I need to be doing more, or I want to resist temptation, or I want to pursue purity or wholeness so that I can be good enough for God, or so that I can earn something, and that's not the case, right? You don't have to earn your way to perfection, or you don't have to earn your way to freedom, right? Jesus already brought you into that freedom, and so it's something you live in every moment. And so with that, like we were just talking about, since it's something you constantly have to live in, the second your eyes turn away from that freedom is when you're going to be stepping out of it.
So this is the aspect that the book was not talking about, but what it was talking against is I think a lot of times we compartmentalize like our relationship with the Lord or like our everyday life where it's like 15 minutes in the morning, I'll pray or I'll be in the Word or whatever. Then I'm going to go to school, then I'm going to do, my extracurriculars, then, maybe I'll catch some time at like, in the afternoon to pray or, read the Word again and then I'll get home and I'll get everything done that I need to at home and then, and then I'll spend some more time with the Lord. Maybe I'll spend another 5-10 minutes, reading or praying. And it's like we really compartmentalize. Like, this is my time with the Lord. This is my time to do school. This is my time to do this. This is my time to do that. And then there's my time to do whatever with the Lord again at the end of the day. But the point that Trevin was talking about in that book was the guy laid out how your relationship with the Lord and you being in community with the Lord doesn't just come through reading his word or doesn't just come from you directly praying and asking for things in your life. But it's an everyday, all day thing. It's a 24/7 aspect.
Yeah.
Where just as much as, you're reading the word and you may be praying in the morning or at night, how are you working at work? Like, are you performing the best you can at work for the glory of the Lord? And just all these other aspects of the life of life that we go through. No, like whenever you're talking to your friends, are you talking to them just to get through the conversation so you can move on to the next thing? Or are you seeing that as an opportunity to pour into somebody or to listen to somebody if they need to be heard?
Yeah.
And so all those aspects are aspects of being in relation with the Lord. And it doesn't just come down to praying and reading your Bible at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it's our 24/7 life where it's like, man, you can talk to the Lord all day. Or you can be doing the Lord's work all day through all the interactions you have with people or all the things that you're doing throughout the day.
Yeah.
Which I really like that because I just think that, I think for myself, I know I really compartmentalize a lot of things. Outside of like my spiritual life, I compartmentalize a lot of things because that makes it easy, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes we find comfort in that compartmentalization. Oh, it's a big word. Hit me with that in Scrabble, dude. I'll kill you in that. But I think we find ease and comfort in that dividing up our day. And so that's kind of how we do our spiritual life too, is we divide up our spiritual life to Sunday, a Wednesday, and maybe a time in the morning if I get lucky and get up on time.
Yeah.
Really when, the Christian walk is a 24/7 type thing.
Yeah.
And I guess the whole point I was trying to say is I think legalism really leans into that compartmentalization where it says, so you've spent your 20 minutes in the Word today. You didn't swear today. You didn't say a dirty joke. You talked to one person about Jesus or the gospel.
Yeah.
Check, man. You're cool, But that really steals the opportunities that you have in the other 22 hours of the day,
Yeah.
I hope you're not up 24 hours a day, but
still.
Yeah.
I think that another thing that we see a lot with legalism is kind of this emphasis on other people's sin. And so it's like, oh, you can't be doing this. And we see so much church hurt from hypocrisy, right? And so I think legalism can lead to hypocrisy, right? Because you're so focused on, oh, you guys have to be living this way, right? We have to be living this way. But then going off and, oh, my sin's not as bad,
Yeah.
And I saw this quote like on Instagram where it's like, I want to hate my sin more than I hate the sins of other people, right? Because we see people talking so much trash and like absolutely hating on the gay community or like all these sexual sins, you know, even within like just normal relationships, sex outside of marriage. We see it emphasized so much, right? And then we find out that these people struggle with their own hidden sexual sin.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's crazy, you know, because they emphasize this so much, but they downplay the significance of their own sin.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to tell someone they're a sinner and then kind of try to justify my own.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, going off that topic, I remember in high school sitting in math class. I don't know how we got on this conversation in math class, but shout out Tyler Budden, T-Board, my man. He's going to use the studio to shoot his own podcast here for his clothing brand. Shout that out. Maybe we'll tag that, put that in the link or something. But I remember Tyler said something about that. He basically was talking about, you know, sexual sin. It's the concept. Sexual sin is sexual sin.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's flagrant sexual sin or whether that's hidden sexual sin. And whether that looks like with sleeping with as many girls as you can, or, you know, watching pornography in marriage.
Yeah.
Like, sexual sin is sexual sin. And just like you're saying with legalism really looks at, you know, well, how are other people measuring up to this measure that I've set, you know? And it really sometimes can, I guess, overlook your own sin.
Yeah. I mean, just to close with a verse, I guess, shout out our hermeneutics class where we had to write a 15-minute speech about one verse. Mine was Luke 15:7, which says there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous people who need no repentance, right? And the whole idea of that is obviously no one's righteous, but he's talking to the Pharisees. Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, and he's saying one person who humbles himself and understands that they can't measure up to these laws and they need me in order to do that, and they need my grace in order to come to me, we're going to rejoice with them and we're going to accept those people rather than 99 people who say, look at me, look what I've done, right? And those people are going to get to the throne room of Jesus on Judgment Day, and they're going to, you know, be asked, why do you deserve to come in here? And they'll be like, oh, but like I cast out demons in your name, you know, like I did all this stuff for you, Jesus. And it's like, well, get away from me. Like I never knew you. It's because they didn't have that personal relationship with Jesus. Instead, they were so preoccupied on what they could do.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it is your faith in Jesus that saves you. Mm-hmm. And it is your personal relationship that gets you into heaven.
Yeah.
You know, it's not measuring up to any law, because if it was measuring up to any law, none of us would be saved.
Cooked.
Because nobody can do that, right? So at the end of the day, it is about humbling yourself, understanding you're a sinner, understanding you're in need of a Savior, and, you know, putting your faith in Jesus and accepting the forgiveness that's offered because of the sacrifice that he made and because of his resurrection. And I think that you can use the law or boundaries or guardrails to help you promote growth in your relationship, but I don't think that those things alone promote growth in relationship. I think it is your pursuit of the Lord that really grows that. That's the pursuit of the Lord is the foundation of growth, spiritual growth, because you're growing closer to him. Yep. But then you can use other tools or other means such as laws or boundaries or guardrails to keep you on track and to promote that growth as well.
Yeah.
So with that, what's the hammer and nail, dude?
The nail is humble yourself and understand that it's not about what you do and you can't save yourself.
Yeah.
So come to Jesus, pretty much. And the hammer, the application.
I definitely have talked about this probably in the last episode or a couple ago, but this is talking about in the context of growing in your relationship with the Lord. It's not the lack of sin or obedience to the law that grows our relationship, but the presence of pursuit that grows you closer to the Lord and grows you as a Christian. So
mine would be allow the Lord to show you your insufficiencies, and then don't just sit in that. Allow it to turn you to seeing the grace of God.
Yeah.
It's like 2 Corinthians 12:9. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. And I think Paul's talking about a physical weakness in that part, but it's the same thing with our own weakness in like my inability to resist temptation on my own, my inability to live perfectly on my own. You know, sometimes the Lord's going to allow us to experience our weakness, right? So that we have to turn to his strength in order to be carried through that. And then in that, it's like, well, obviously, knowing who I am, this could not happen by my strength. And so it's all for the Lord's glory. Yeah. Anywho, that's it. I feel like we could have talked a lot about this because there's a whole lot for it. But, you know, if you guys have any questions or any more specific ideas you want us to address, whether it's like related to this or not, just let us know in the comments and we'll do that for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. See you guys.
Peace.